Hi, my name is Falina, and this is my testimony. I grew up in a little town in New Mexico where I was raised alongside my younger sister, my younger brother, and my older brother. I would say that I grew up in a very strong Christian background. My mom was a woman after God's own heart and still is just a woman after God's own heart. We were raised just to follow God's word, and I became a Christian at 7 years old. I was a part of every church function. My mom encouraged me very strongly to be a part of everything I could possibly be a part of. VBS, Bible drill, youth, camps, summer camps, Sunday school, and even Wednesday night youth events as well. God was my life. When I was 13 years old, while I was returning from a youth event, I was molested by an adult male volunteer. To be completely honest, I was really confused. I didn't understand what had happened to me. And the abuser was a very respected person within the church, and I was very fearful that no one would believe me. And because of that fear, I didn't tell anybody about the incident. As I transitioned from junior high into high school, I began experiencing intense mood swings, insomnia, mania, and numerous other symptoms that began affecting my life. At 14 years old, I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. Many people, including my mom at the time, did not understand what mental illness was. Because when it's not physical pain, many times people have a hard time understanding what pain you're going through. My mental health became a constant battle. It began affecting my friendships, my relationships with every single person I came in contact with. Throughout my high school career, I would experience several other sexual assaults, and also told no one. As my illness progressed, my devotion for Christ began drifting further away. By 17, I had began drinking recreationally and began smoking cigarettes. The people I surrounded myself with encouraged me and to do these habits, and by the age of 18, I finally was making the big step into adulthood, graduated high school, and decided to go on to college. The college that I chose to go to, that I was accepted at, was a college in Colorado, was out of state, so close to home, close enough to home that I could still say I'm close to home, but far enough away that I didn't have to visit home all the time. This was the first time that I could experience my freedom, or what I thought would be my freedom. I didn't really understand what that meant. Within my first year of college, my mental health dramatically declined. I was experiencing days of no sleep, began drinking heavily so I could self-medicate and so that I could fall asleep. My recreational habit that had begun just a year before became my cure for insomnia. After just 3 semesters of college, I had to withdraw from my classes because of my mental health issues. I didn't go home though, even though it would be in my best interest. I actually stayed with my so-called friends. It didn't take long for me to begin making some pretty shady friends. Every testimony, I think, likes to highlight and talk about friends, and every time I ever heard a testimony talking about friendships and anything, I would kind of scoff, roll my eyes, and say, not my friends. My friends, they wouldn't do that. Well, I was wrong, and I was sadly mistaken. And quickly, my involvement with my so-called friends consisted not only of drinking, but heavy drugs. cocaine, Molly, mushrooms. If it was in my town, it was at my house. At first I resisted. I never asked them to leave. I just allowed them to stay there, and I would just watch, allow them to be there. It didn't take long before watching became participating. Because it's hard to sit there and watch, you know. You don't want to just keep watching. You'll eventually participate. I began working to feed my habit. I barely ate, and I had lost 30 pounds within a year, unhealthily. I didn't visit or call my family unless it was a major holiday. And the only reason why I visited them on major holidays is because major holidays meant money, and more money meant alcohol and drugs. In the winter of 2010, I was violently raped. I told no one. I remember telling myself and thinking, you deserve this, Falina. Shortly after, in 2011, I was arrested and charged with a DUI. I was put in jail for 2 weeks, which is pretty lax, I think, with the condition that I would remain under house arrest in the care of my mother, as well as take substance abuse classes. These classes were pretty extensive. They were 6 months long, 3 days a week, 3 hours per day. And just as a side note, at the end of my DUI, I paid over $14,000 in DUI debt, classes, interlock costs. I also had become pregnant. I was scared. Several of my friends, along with my abuser, encouraged me to get an abortion. And I was considering ending my life. After a few weeks, I began listening to these classes. Daily, we would say the serenity prayer, which, if you're not familiar with, is, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, and to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. One day, while I was in these classes, my eyes were opened. And not just to my addiction, but also to my horrible experiences. To the trauma that I had experienced and not acknowledged, that I was masking with drugs and alcohol, with bad choices, secluding myself from friends and family because I wasn't able to face the issues that were at hand. And I thought that I could figure it out on my own, that I knew better and I knew best. That day, I began my journey to recovery. With the help of my amazing mother, I was able to leave my abuser, pack my belongings, and move to another city with my sister. I began coming back to church, which is this church right now that I'm sitting in. I made amends and continued making amends with the people that I hurt during my addictions, and then the people I neglected. I began seeing a doctor for my mental health and became free for the first time in what seemed like a lifetime of pain and hurt. And remember how I said I was pregnant? Well, at 22 years old, I gave birth to a healthy, drug and alcohol-free little girl. Now, I'm 26 years old, and I am the mother of 3 girls. My adopted older daughter, who is 11, my middle daughter, who is 4, and my youngest daughter, who is 2. And I can proudly say I'm nearly 4 years alcohol-free, almost 7 years drug-free, and today 5 months and 28 days cigarette free. Some of those wins might not seem like huge wins, but to me, somebody who struggled with being dependent on those things for my entire life, it's a huge win for me. I was diagnosed with PTSD in addition to my bipolar disorder some time back. Thanks to God and the therapy I underwent for my condition, I am mentally healthier than I have ever been. I am happily married to a godly man who is holding the camera, who also adopted my beautiful little girl at just 3 months old. My life verse after becoming free and finding God again was Hebrews 11:1. And that is, faith is being sure of what you hope for and certain of what you cannot see. If you have, are currently, or know anyone experiencing physical, emotional, or sexual abuse, no matter what anyone may have told you, you do not have to remain silent. And you do not have to experience this pain alone. If you are dealing with mental illness or addiction, there is freedom. You're not alone in these struggles. Please do not fight your battles alone. In life, you may dig yourself a hole that seems impossible to get out of. And my friends, it may be impossible for you, but nothing is impossible with God. Thank you for listening.